Howdy, y'all. My name is Jordan Locke. Welcome back. Today we're going to discuss the social exchange theory. Now, the social exchange theory revolves around the organization of one's relationships based off of the premise of a perceived positive or negative outcome or reward. So, in layman's terms, it's like a scale. So, you're looking at, good on one side, bad on the other side, seeing if they weigh out or if you prefer one over the other. Now, I feel like this exchange theory applies in many ways to my life. Um, but keep in mind, we don't always consciously evaluate our situations, and sometimes we do that, indirectly as well. So, just because you're having a conversation with someone, it doesn't mean that you're going to be like, "Oh, okay, what have you done for me lately?" You know, that's not something that we usually do. Um, but in this case, in my personal life, I had a friend that was very near and dear to me. Everybody needs a close friend, right? And this friend let me down like a lot in over the course of 2 years because he started really valuing his own endeavors. He was becoming more of a taker than a giver, and he didn't respect me and my responsibilities as a husband to a wife. And although I love him, I had to cut him out of my life because the risks and the negative outcomes associated with him far elapsed over the rewards, and it's difficult, to sit there and say, okay, I have this best friend. Here's all the things that he does for me, and here's all the things that we are for each other. A voice or a shoulder or an advice giver, and then here's all the things negative, and it's kind of hard to evaluate that, put that all in perspective, and give a number value to it. But I ended up having to cut him out of my life anyway. So, what does that mean exactly? Well, I'd hypothesize that, um, you know, even though we're unaware of it, subconsciously, when we start to evaluate ourselves as detaching from other people, and we perceive that scale to be tipping, uh, it not only changes the nature of our relationships, it also changes how we communicate with those people, almost like a snowball effect, if you will. And that's my personal hypothesis. Um, and anybody who's ever been in like a waning relationship, sort of, on the ending side of a relationship, can tell you it's like talking to a completely different person. Um, but like most of you, I've worked jobs before. In my professional life, um, who doesn't directly and indirectly weigh the benefits of the job. I remember constantly thinking like, man, if one more thing goes wrong, I'm just out of here. Like the the paycheck doesn't matter. Like it's just too much. These customers are too ridiculous. I just can't. You know. Um, and so, in this context, I want you to focus on one of the more important aspects of the job, and that's the people you work with or the people you work for. Um, so good people can carry you through an otherwise unbearable job experience, and the inverse is true as well. Bad people can break an otherwise great job. Now, I was once in a retail sales position, and for the sake of anonymity, I'll just say that I sold luxury widgets. Um, and this boss and we had our differences, but he paid me very well, mostly kept out of my way so I could sell. And one day, an irate customer came up and shouted at the manager, and he pulled a gun on him. Um, my manager pulled a gun on someone. This is a private business, um, and that was very scary, for one, but for two, since that incident, the quality of our communication and the amount of communication suffered greatly, and I was shocked and appalled by his behavior. So, so needless to say, I ended that relationship because being shot was above my pay grade, and I didn't like him that much, you know. But wrapping up, it's easy to see like the application of social exchange theory. It can affect us in many different ways. The social exchange theory allows us to more purposefully examine those relationships. It allows us to not only see the flaws in others, but in ourselves as well. So, are you someone's reward? Are you someone's risk? And our relationships define who we are, and it's very important to keep that in mind when we decide who to communicate with, spend time with, etc. So next time you're not sure about your relationship with someone, think of it like a scale. Are you being taken advantage of? Are you taking advantage of someone else? And all in all, be the balance in someone else's life with social exchange theory. Thank you.